Hello and welcome back to the Cocked Dice. In this week's conversion video, I'm going to be tackling the Mantis Warriors chapter of Space Marines. Now these are a pretty unusual bunch and I've grabbed quite a random selection of bits for these. There's a couple of different paths I could go down and I'm going to kind of blend the two. So obviously I'm working off an Assault Intercessor here. I've grabbed a fairly straight blade from the Grey Knights kit, really to kind of play into a bit of the more Japanese samurai feel that some people go down for this chapter. It's not quite got the right curve on it, but it's close enough without doing some heavy conversion work or hitting one of the boxes like the Warcry boxes for the slightly curved swords. I've grabbed this rather cool headpiece from the Dark Elves Age of Sigmar kit. It's from the Cold War Knights kit. That's going to get added to his helmet. Nice little loincloth which I've used on other conversions from Corpse Grinders. Now one of the other elements of the chapter is they tend to customise their armour, so I've grabbed one of these bits from a Terminator kit which I'm going to use to replace one of his knee pads. And finally we're going to replace his chest with this piece from the Cataphan Breacher's kit. So I'm going to crack on and start assembling this Marine. So we're going to replace his chest piece with this kind of segmented panel here, again playing on the kind of Mantis theme a little bit. Now you could actually use this for one of his shoulder pads as well. The stomach pieces I think they are for the Cataphan Breachers. They normally go that way around, as you can see from the little Mechanica symbol, but we're going to swap it around to this way. I'm going to shave the symbol off and we'll get it mounted onto his chest there. It is pretty much the right size. So you can see I'm going to have to take the symbol off, flatten out the top a little bit, and then that should sit just under his collar. A little bit of green stuff should help join it together. So we need to shave down this chest quite substantially. So unlike on other videos where I want to save the this kind of shape of chest, I'm actually going to cut this quite heavily. So we're going to take it right back, take the eagle off and the upper chest piece here. So just take a knife and very carefully start working your way towards the collar, making sure you don't put too much pressure on it and slip, because it's pretty easy to catch your thumbs here. So just trim it off in layers like that. You could use a pair of clippers for this, or if you've got a Dremel, you could just Dremel the lot off and sand it down pretty quickly. I'll get this sorted out and I'll be back in a minute. So that's the chest smoothed down fairly well there. It doesn't need to be perfect because we're sticking something over it, but as you can see I've taken it right back to the lower layer. I've been really careful around to make sure that these vents here are still in pretty good nick, because you'll be able to see those. Next thing I'm going to do before I stick anything together is carve out a shape for this knee pad. Now on the back of them they've got a little indent, but we're not going to bother too much with that. We can trim that off. What we do need to do is make sure we get a bit of a curve. So I'm going to take the top of his knee off and then just flatten off the front of this knee pad. So the tops of these aren't particularly difficult to remove. Just run a knife behind them like so. If you have the normal Intercessor's kit instead of an Assault Intercessor, this is way simpler because their front shins aren't attached. The knee pad and the front shin is a separate piece, and it makes it really simple to remove. So I'll just whip this off now. And before I test fit this, I'm going to just trim down this back peg a little bit, get a pair of clippers in there, and just take the material off. You can kind of V it out as well. Take the material out there. I'll do a quick test fit to see how deep it sits. As you can see there, it's sitting out a bit, so we'll trim the inside of this back with a knife. And now it's just a matter of test fitting and then continuing to trim this bit of knee down until it fits on in a way that you like. And so after a couple of passes of trimming, we've got it so it fits on here pretty smoothly, and that also will help give him this kind of layered segmented armour look that we're going for. Right then. So I'm going to get him stuck together, get his body together, and we'll put on the knee pad and then we'll figure out the chest piece in a moment. So then the next part is going to be fitting this chest piece, or this on his chest piece. So I'm going to trim off the Mechanica symbol. So just a knife on here, just very carefully, just remove it in little sections like this. And because this is going to be quite prevalent on the miniature, I would suggest that you get some very fine sandpaper or a sanding stick and just sand this down a little bit. Now for fit, I want this to sit above his belt, so lining that up with his neck piece, you can see I'm going to need to cut straight across here to begin with, so we'll do that now. And then we'll clean that top line up just a little bit to make it smoother. When you're doing anything like this, it is really best that you test fit again and again, just doing little alterations at a time. So we can now see, in focus, it's starting to fit better. I think I might need to shape it a bit more, and on the back of this, you can see there's on the back of here, you can see there's a little bit of a change in the value in the kind of thickness of it, so I'm going to try and trim this down internally as well. So with the inside smoothed out somewhat now, this should fit on here quite nicely. It's obviously going to sit at a slight angle because the Marine is turning just a little bit, so we'll get that stuck on in position there. So we're next going to add this pretty cool horned skull loincloth just over here. It doesn't need a lot, I'm going to trim a little bit off the back of it, and it's going to fit over his existing belt buckle here. I kind of like this because the little horned skull on it, it kind of gave me a bit of a Japanese Oni kind of feel, I thought. And this is a different enough style that it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the kind of Space Marine range. It's not their kind of standard traditional kind of loincloths you see on most of the kits, so I thought this one would work pretty well. So there we go with that, and let's start adding some arms to him. So the first arm we'll do is we'll sort his sword arm out. So you can see this with this hand, this is cut just the other side of this wrist armour here. So we'll take the big knife again. We can take the big knife and cut straight through this. Nice level angle. Hand away because they're good hands. Straight across his wrist guard, and as you can see here, we've got it pretty flat all the way across. I've taken a shoulder peg off this already, and I'm just going to put the arm on, and we've got a few minutes of wiggle room. While it dries off, and you can see roughly where his sword wants to be, so his sword wants to be out at a slight angle there. So I'll get that sorted out. So we're going to add this symbol to his helmet up here. The one thing I need to do is you can just see, possibly there, you can just see a little nub on the back of there, where it normally fits into the Corbin Rider's helmet, which you can take a knife and just chip that off quickly. Like so. Dab glue on the back. And then try and get it nice and centrally on his helmet. And with his backpack added, we're going to call him done for tonight. It's a fairly simple conversion. I think between the layered armour, the extra panels, the sword swap and the helmet really brings it together, kind of brings the Mantis Warriors to life just a little bit. If you hang around for a moment, there is a painted version coming up right about now. And thanks for joining us here at the Clock Dice. Why not like this video and add a comment below? It really helps boost the channel. And while you're at it, if you click on the icon below, you can subscribe to the channel for all the latest updates as soon as they're live. Why not check out some of our other videos and playlists? You can click on the ones on screen right now. Take care, and we'll see you next time.